Here we are with Waco, co-founder and CEO of Xlive. Waco, what's going on today? You got a lot of exciting things going on and executives all across the esports space here at your event.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really exciting, and we're super pumped about the diversity of the program. When you look at where the esports landscape is, it couldn't be a more exciting time. If you look at the growth and just the speed at which it moves, we were talking earlier about skating towards the puck in terms of keeping your finger on the finger of a pulse of an industry. But I feel like esports is trying to skate towards a high-speed train or something like that, which makes it a lot of fun. And so today we have a mix of different organizations, from the publishers like Riot and Activision Blizzard, and the agencies that are out there. They're working with so many of the brands, and then we have so many of the technology groups and the production companies. So when you look at the broad swath of stakeholders that are involved in the landscape, our goal is really to create a meaningful dialogue with those groups. You've got traditional sports, you have music partnerships. When you look at what Drake and like Fortnite and Ninja did, so I think the growth in the space is poised to explode on some really, really interesting areas.
Give us a little background on what got you into the space. I mean, I'm so appreciative of Xlive. It's one of my first events that I attended getting into the space, and it meant a lot for me. Biz deving and building relationships in the space. How did you get pulled into it?
So I've been involved in live events for the better part of a decade and a half, and we not only focus on esports, but we also focus on traditional sports, music, culinary events like food, wine, and beer festivals, music festivals, what brands and agencies are doing, what large media groups are doing on the experiential side, and then technology really touches all of those. And so, 4 or 5 years ago, esports started to come onto our radar, like a lot of groups. And we've just looked at the space, and when you look at it's a highly tangential market segment to all those other markets. And the thing that I love about Xlive, the platform, for example, our annual event, you get all those different stakeholders in a room who are producing live events and creating experiential opportunities for fans and brands and communities. And, esports is no different. And so when albeit that the demographics might be different, the individuals and some of the brands that are there and how they activate are a little bit different, but being able to get outside the lane of traditional sports or esports or music and learn from your peers who are, again, all looking to create extraordinary live event experiences is a really, really powerful thing, because they all do things really well and a little bit differently. So being able to take some of those ideas and innovate back in your own organization is one of the hallmarks of Xlive. And we're really focused on providing, immense networking opportunities where you can create a market. And to your point, you just talked about the networking piece and the business development opportunities. And then also that information, that knowledge share that happens at platforms like this. So again, throughout the year, we have our reception series, we do these summits, we do our annual events, we produce research reports. Our goal is to really be a resource for the industry where it can continue to foster the growth of esports and bring in other stakeholders that want to be involved as well.
I think you have a lot of adjacency and connection because of what you do to a lot of the key players in the space. What are some of the biggest takeaways you've had getting involved in the industry, in the space, running these events, and having this adjacency to senior leadership and executives?
Yeah, so first of all, it's really refreshing to see an industry emerge, so quickly and evolve so fast in such a way. And when you look at the kind of the dichotomy that exists between, some of the more senior and experienced executives, but then you have some very young people who have tremendous, responsibility within their organizations. So seeing, that juxtaposition and how those organizations are balancing that and how they're creating a culture that supports that is really, really incredible. So, seeing Stratton Sklavos's talk this morning, or being involved in interviewing him with that, it's great seeing, his 30 years of experience and looking at, the things he was able to accomplish in Silicon Valley, with VeriSign and, the San Jose Sharks, and then taking that experience and applying it, and then being so data-driven. Those are some of the things that I think esports can really benefit from, and take those lessons and apply it to their own strategies and applications.
Look, you've seen a variety of industries and a wide scale, landscape of events. What is most similar to esports in your experience?
Yeah, I think that what's really interesting about the similarities is, on its face, whether it's a consumer event, whether it's a B2B event, an event is an event on paper. If you were to line up all the similarities from all those characteristics, by and large the same. Now, obviously, they differ in a lot of different areas: the demographic, the experience itself, outdoor, indoor production, etc. But I think one of the things that's really fascinating for me about esports is when you look at the festival market. So music festivals, food, wine festivals, looking at brands who are launching their own festivals, ranging from Airbnb and Viacom and Red Bull and Bud Light. They all want to touch that consumer who's really, really passionate about that community, that product, platform, whatever it might be. So looking at those highly immersive experiences, for example, that music festivals have created, whether you're in an urban environment, whether it's something like Insomniac outside of Las Vegas at EDC, or whether you're dealing with something like the Comedy Central Colossal Cluster Fest, again, you have all these highly, very precise market segments with communities that vary widely, but they're really passionate about a particular area. And I think esports can learn so much around that, and how they look at creating those authentic experiences with brand activations, how they look at increasing the value of the experience people are getting out of it, and then also how they layer in these different elements of what that experience can be, and what that needs to be for esports. So should there be unique things about, food or wine, or should there not be any alcohol? There's so many different layers to how you make something really compelling. And then that accessibility that exists in esports when you're dealing with the talent, with the teams, again, that doesn't exist in music and in sports. And then the engagement levels that you have on platforms like Twitch and even Facebook, again, that doesn't exist in the same way in traditional sports and other events. So there are some massive, massive opportunities to activate in that space and do really, really compelling things.
That's amazing. I'm going to leave you one last thing. So for the business leaders that are watching this, who haven't had an opportunity to get in esports or attend their first event, what do you have to let them know? Can you give them a little message?
I think for individuals, for executives and organizations that haven't had an opportunity to come out to a platform like Xlive or another, B2B event, I think that the networking, the learning, the market that's created at these types of programs is really where the rubber meets the road. Esports is such, you could call it a greenfield opportunity. And while there is a framework that exists, we have the opportunity to completely redefine what those boundaries look like and recreate what brand activations look like, what fan engagement looks like, how you integrate all those different elements. And continuing to have this meaningful dialogue is really what's going to enable us to scale and grow esports. So it's a huge, huge market for years to come.